Hey guys, welcome back for another video. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at our 2025 to 2026 South Carolina Gamecocks football team. This is a team came out of nowhere last season, had a great season, lit things up, caught the college football world on fire, so much so that people spent the last week debating and fighting over whether they should make the playoffs. They just barely missed out, but everyone was talking about the Gamecocks last season. That's the way the season ended. Yes, they did not do so well their bowl game, but don't let that take away from the fact that they had a great season and they have a lot of momentum coming in to the 2025 to 26 football season. This is one of those teams, they snuck up on everyone last year. They're not going to be sneaking up on anyone this season. Everyone's going to have this game circled on their schedule. They know they have to take them serious. They had a lot of close games. They had some games where we could say they should have won it, but the refs kind of took the game away from them. Hopefully that doesn't happen to this team next season. They're going to have all eyes on them. Shane Beamer here. Shane Beamer, props to you the way you built this team up. You played a lot of teams that had typically on paper a lot more talent than you 4- and 5-star wise, and yet you still made the game competitive. You were fighting in every game. You had a top 30 offense this season. You had a top 30 defense last season, and you're bringing a lot of those starters back. So that's what's leading to the hype this season. Some people have you ranked preseason top 10. Some people still might not know who you are, but they are definitely going to learn who the Gamecocks are in the 2025-26 season. That's what we're going to be breaking down today. First things first, though, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, by all means, drop them below. Do you agree? Disagree? Leave the comment down below. I will make sure that I respond to every single one of them. If you want to sign up for one of our member teams, look down at the pinned comment down below in the comment section. Click on that link. You can sign up there, guys. I would definitely appreciate that. We're going to be going over every single college football team. And when the season starts, we go over every single game, every day, every week. We break down our best bets, our predictions. We do money lines, spreads, over-unders. We discuss it all. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel so you can follow along with us. This is a team that could technically, when they're having a good day, can compete with anyone in the SEC. And that's saying a lot because that is probably the deepest conference in college football. It's all going to start with the quarterback. You have Lenoris Sellers back. Now he has Heisman hype coming into the season. He's a little bit of a dual threat quarterback. He can sling it. He can run it. He could have anywhere from 25 to 3,000 passing yards, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 rushing yards. His ability to throw and run makes this offense extremely adaptable. You have Faison there at the running back position. You have Attaway, Harbor, Jacobs, Brown, Bennett, Clark, Cyrus. A lot of wide receivers, deep wide receiver core, and you know that you can compete in the trenches at the line of scrimmage, both on the offensive line and that defensive line with your front seven. You showed that last year. No matter who you're playing in this conference, the big dogs, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, all of those teams, you can match up with them. They might have the more talented overall roster, but the way you're coached, you are playing well above your talent level right now. And props to Shane Beamer. But let's go ahead and get started. Looking at that schedule there on the right, you'll see the games, and these are the Vegas predictions. I'm not saying they're going to win them, lose them. It's what does Vegas predict early preseason-wise. The Blue Stars, that's the games that they're obviously favored to win. The Red Stars is the game that, as of right now, Vegas is favoring them to lose. And the Yellow Stars is just, the game's just a little too close. We don't fully know which way it's going to go. It is a toss-up right now. They could win it, they could lose it, but it's one of those games that currently preseason, it's going to come in at a 50-50. But let's go ahead and get started breaking down the schedule. They're going to open the season Sunday, August 31st versus the Virginia Tech Hokies. This is obviously a personal game for Shane Beamer. We know that Shane Beamer's dad, Daddy Beamer, built the Virginia Tech Hokies football team. He turned this franchise into a real complete team, had them on the national spotlight. This is his alma mater. This is his dad's old school. It's a personal game, but he wants to make sure to win it. Sorry, Dad. He's got to win this game to start the season. Right now, even though the Hokies bring back Kyron Jones, he's kind of a dual-threat quarterback. They had a close game versus Miami last season. They're not a bad team, but they were an underperforming team from last season. I think South Carolina, when this game comes up on the schedule, they are going to be the preseason favorites, and I do think that they are going to win it as well. And then we're going to be moving on to our second game of the season, Saturday, September 6th. This is going to be an FCS game. This is a game that now you're starting to get that offense rolling. You want to have a couple good wins riled up so that once you get in the SEC conference play, the offense is rolling, the defense is finally tuned. They're going to have Saturday, September 6th, the see the South Carolina State Bulldogs. This game is at Columbia, South Carolina. First game was a neutral site. This game's going to be Columbia. Your first home game of the season. There's going to be a lot of buildup here. You could potentially even be a top 10 team at this season. The fans are going to be crazy. This is going to be a beatdown. It's not going to be close. It's going to be like a 50-6 type game. They're going to win it, and they're obviously going to be favored here. And now we're starting to get into conference play. The games are starting to mean a lot more. Saturday, September 13th, the Vanderbilt Commodores. This game is also at home in Columbia, South Carolina. Vanderbilt's not one of those teams that you want to sleep on. They had some upset wins last season, most noticeably when they upset Alabama in Nashville. You have Diego Pavia back for like his 13th year of college football. This guy's 35 years old at this point. He is back again. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's a risk-taking quarterback. That's the way you have to be when you're the quarterback at Vanderbilt and you want to win these big games. You have to be willing to take the risks. He did that last season. It paid off. It worked wonders. South Carolina, they're not going to be underestimating this game. They're going to be prepared to play. Vanderbilt is not going to be underestimating the Gamecocks either as well. This, to me, is going to be a close game, probably, first half, maybe into the third quarter. But I do think South Carolina is going to be favored, and they're going to win it by at least 2 possessions once the end of the fourth happens. And then after that, we're getting deeper into SEC play. We have our first road game at the Missouri Tigers. Missouri's one of those teams that's really overperformed the last 2 to 3 seasons. Props to Eli Drinkowitz. The amount of outcomes, the amount of promise he was able to get out of this roster is just a testament to how good of a coach he was. This team way overperformed their talent level. Props to them. They beat the Buckeyes 2 seasons ago in the bowl game. There's a 10-win caliber team the last 2 seasons, but now they lost all their star players. They lost Cook. They lost Burden. They lost Weiss Jr. All those guys that helped stabilize this program are gone. I do trust Drinkowitz. This team will still be competitive, and they will still be disciplined. They will still win a lot of games, but now you're going to have a lot of first-year starters, so that just kind of changes the way that you would look at this game. They're going to have a good defense. They've had a pretty dominant defense the last couple seasons, but the Gamecocks are going to be favored here. This could be their potential first top 25 versus top 25 matchup as well. And then the next game we're going to be looking at is going to be Saturday, September 27th, the Kentucky Wildcats. This game is back home in Columbia, South Carolina. Kentucky, Mark Stoops' team. They're usually disciplined. They are usually extremely physical. They usually play incredibly close first quarters, and then the second half, they completely fall apart. They get blown out because they never have a good offense. It puts a lot of stress on the defense, and they can compete, for 2-3 quarters, but at some point, they just get gassed out. They need first downs. They need breathers. I think they're going to continue to struggle. This might be one of the worst teams in the SEC conference this season. I have South Carolina again being favored this game. So when you're counting that as of right now, you are at least 5-0 at this point, and you're probably a top 10 team currently. Then Saturday, October 4th, they're going to have a bye week, a well-earned bye week. 5 straight games, 5 straight wins, but now you're starting to get really into the heart of SEC play, and that's really where their schedule starts to get really deep. It starts to get really complicated. You want that bye week so that you can work on some things that haven't been working, keep your game plan on track, but you also want to get this team fully healthy, get them rested, because the next game you're going to have Saturday, October 11th, a massive game. This is a game day type game. Both of these teams could be in the top 10 at this point. We're going to be at the LSU Tigers. Mountain Rouge, one of the toughest, most difficult places to play. If it's a nice game, which it probably will be, it is going to be a crazy atmosphere. The fans are going to be rabid here. Brian Kelly, year 4. Blake Baker, defensive coordinator. Garrett Nussmeier back for like his 11th season of college football, slinging the ball up and down the field for LSU. LSU is a top 10 overall roster in the nation. They have a lot of hype this season. This is Brian Kelly's year. Year 4, you have to get results. People want to see you in the playoffs, or they're going to be pissed off. And we all know how this game ended last season. A lot of questionable calls that took the Gamecocks out of the game. They're going to be pissed off. They're going to want revenge. LSU's also going to want to show that they separated themselves from where they were last season, and they are better, so they're going to want to have a dominating win, not a questionable win where the outcome is drawn into question. I have this game as a toss-up. I'm not saying the Tigers are going to win. I'm not saying that the Gamecocks are going to win. It's just right now, this game is truly a 50-50 toss-up. You can make a very strong case for either one of these teams to walk away here with the win. And our next game is another good one. This is a really tough schedule. October 18th, they're going to be playing the Oklahoma Sooners. This game, thankfully for the Gamecocks, is going to be in Columbia, South Carolina. Last year, Oklahoma finished 6-7, but they had a lot of offseason changes, obviously changing coordinators. They still have Brent Venables. You know they're going to have a good defense. You know they're going to have a top 20 defense. They're going to be physical at the line of scrimmage, great front seven. But the biggest change here is they're going to have a healthy wide receiver core. Their wide receiver core was banged up last season, but more importantly, John Mateer is transferring over as the starting quarterback. He was the number one quarterback in the transfer portal this offseason. So he's coming in here with a lot of hype, and he's bringing his Washington State coordinator with him. He's going to be very familiar with this scheme, very familiar with this offense. This is a guy who's more than capable of throwing for 3,500 to 4,000 yards and running for about 600 to 900 yards on the ground. This is going to be a multiple type of offense. It's going to be spread out. It's going to be run heavy, and it's also going to be a hybrid of the air raid as well. They're going to have a dangerous offense. However, we want to see it not just on paper, see it on the field yet. There's a lot of unknowns here, a lot of moving pieces first year with the Sooners, a lot of pressure on Brent Venables. To me, the Sooners have the most difficult schedule in college football this season. He's got to win some games. He's got to get 8 wins here, or his seat is going to be on fire. I want to see the Oklahoma Sooners and how they actually look on the field with their new quarterback, with their new offense, with the Gamecocks here at home. They're going to be healthy. They're going to be physical. They're going to have an offense that can run. They can control time of possession, control the ground game. I think this game is a toss-up, but I'm going to go ever so slightly here with the Gamecocks being the favorite team. In this next game, you know the Gamecocks really want a lot of revenge. We have Alabama Crimson Tide. This game is obviously going to be a ranked-on-ranked matchup. Could even be a top 10 versus top 10 matchup. This game is also going to be in South Carolina. That definitely helps the Gamecocks. We all saw the way that game ended last season. Obviously, highly questionable. I was not a fan of the way that the refs called that game down the stretch. But it is what it is. You can't take it back. Alabama, also a lot of moving pieces. Ty Simpson probably going to be the starting quarterback for Bama. We know they have a top 3 overall roster in college football. Kalen DeBoer wants to get things back on track this season. He has Grubbs back as the offensive coordinator. They're going to have more of that Washington type of offense this season. They are going to be airing the ball out, but they have to improve on offense, specifically on the ground game. They also have to improve their defense. Their defense was not a typical Nick Saban Alabama defense from last season. This game to me, right now, it's a toss-up. It's one of those games that can go either way. We know what the Gamecocks bring, but there's a lot of unknowns with Alabama because we're going to have a lot of first-year starters this time. And then what is setting up to be a really good game? This is, 4 or 5 straight ranked SEC in-conference matchups. By this point, the Gamecocks are probably starting to get a little beat up. They're starting to get wore out, and now they have to go to the Ole Miss Rebels, Oxford, Mississippi. This is going to be a very tough game on the road. It is a Lane Kiffin team. You know, no matter what, they're going to have a great offense. They're going to have a top 20 offense. Yes, they lost Jackson Dart. They lost Trey Harris. However, they are catching the Gamecocks after a brutal stretch of games that really gives the Ole Miss Rebels a real shot here to pull off the upset. I do think that South Carolina will come in as the Vegas favorite potentially, but I think you have to mark this game as a toss-up just because the Gamecocks, brutal schedule so far. They're at the end of that stretch here. They might be a little beat up this game, whereas Ole Miss will be looking at this game. The Gamecocks are going to be wore out by this point. So I have this one marked as a toss-up. It's a 50-50 one. Could go either way. And you need a bye week. You finally get your second bye week Saturday, November 8th. You need some time to rest, get things back on track. And right after that, Saturday, November 15th at the Texas A&M Aggies College Station. This team might be ranked. They might not be ranked. Last season, I think the Aggies finished 8-5, counting the bowl game. With this game in College Station, it's one of the most difficult places to play on the road. It's going to be a Mike Elko team. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play defense. You have Reed coming in here now. He's now the full-time starter, getting to start the season out. They're going to have a dynamic quarterback, throwing the ball, running the ball. They're going to have that physical ground game. They're going to play good defense. They're going to keep the score close. But I think ultimately, just like last time, I think the Gamecocks are going to pull away at the very end. They're going to be ready to go. They made it through that gauntlet here. Now's their chance coming out. They're finally coming into the light. They want to finish the season on a high note, just like they did last year, and they're potentially looking at a shot at a playoff berth here. I'm going to have the Gamecocks coming in here as the favorite team. And then second to last game, Saturday, November 22nd, the Coastal Carolina. This is obviously going to be a win. They're going to be heavy favorites here. You don't want to show too much. You don't want to leave your starters in too long this game because you have an in-state massive rivalry game the very next week. So you're going to come out, you're going to beat the brakes off them, you're going to curb stomp them, blow them out, and then you're going to pull the starters second half. But you'll be favored here for sure. And then to me, I'm just going to call this honestly their biggest game of the year, the final game of the season. This could even be a college game day game. Saturday, November 29th, the Clemson Tigers coming to South Carolina. To me, Clemson's going to be a top 10 team here. Would not be surprised if the Gamecocks are a top 10 or just outside of the top 10. No matter what hinges on this game is a potential playoff berth, a potential playoff spot. There's a lot riding on the outcome of this game. The Gamecocks could lose it. They could still make the playoffs, or they could be fighting for their playoff life here. There's going to be a lot riding on this game. Don't forget, last season they finished with 9 wins. Counting this game, this is one of those games you could pull out. This could be your 10th win. 10 wins out of the SEC would cement you in the playoffs. Looking at Clemson, obviously, they have Klubnik coming back as the quarterback. He's coming in right now. He's the Vegas odds-on favorite to win the Heisman. He had a great season last year. Threw for like 3,700 yards, 35 touchdowns, ran for like 650 yards. He's a multiple dual-threat quarterback. He wants to beat you with his arms, but he can extend plays with his legs. He can take off. They don't have Maffa, but they have Williams. They have a young wide receiver core. Year 3 under Riley. This offense really took off last season, made massive improvements. They will continue to improve down the stretch here, and then you're going to have that Clemson defense. They left a lot to be desired last year. They're going to be much better. They have Allen now calling the defensive plays, one of the best, a top 3 defensive coach in all of football. They're going to be aggressive, a lot of tackles for a loss. They're going to be in the backfield all day long, but the Gamecocks can match them physicality-wise, position for position. It's a fun matchup. It's Beamer versus Dabo. This game is one of those ones that could honestly go either way, but I think this season, this is going to be the season Clemson really has a good year. They make the playoffs, even if they don't win the ACC. I still think they make the playoffs. I think they will be the Vegas favorite in this game. I'm not saying the Gamecocks cannot beat them. They are more than capable of doing that. They have shown that in previous years, but I'm going to be riding with Clemson as the early preseason favorite in this game, but we'll see what happens once you actually get to this matchup. No matter what, guys, when you're looking at the schedule that we have there, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games they win. So worst case scenario, if they lose all the toss-ups, they go 8-4. And that's their floor. That's what I'm saying. I'm not predicting them to go 8-4. If they just take 2 of those 3 toss-ups, that's a 10-2 season. All you have to do, split the difference. Even a 9-3 game season, you could potentially make the playoffs coming out of the SEC. It was debatable last season. It might not be debatable next year. You might make sure to get in. No matter what, guys, that's our early preseason prediction and breakdown video for our 2025-26 South Carolina Gamecocks. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, by all means, drop them below. I will respond to every single one of them. If you want to sign up for one of our member teams, click on the pinned comment down below. Click on that link. I would definitely appreciate that. And of course, thank you as always for watching.